So yeah, Pokemon Generation 4 was easily one of my favorites in the entire series. In terms of its storytelling, it doesn't do a whole lot, but it does have a much grander scope than what we were used to in terms of what the villains were trying to achieve. Generation 3 kind of tried it, but I felt like the motivations for Team Magma and Team Aqua were just plain dumb. And in terms of the gameplay, Generation 4 is easily the basis for what I perceive Pokemon combat to have. You know, there's a rock, paper, scissors matchup that we all know about. There's the abilities from Generation 3, and then the introduction of the physical special split for the attacks that have finally come into this generation. And all that continues to go forward, save for the few special things, like the Mega Evolutions, Z moves, or the Gigantamaxing. So this is where all Pokemon's combat has finally come together to make it excellent. But then you know how it is. We had the Generation 1 remake on the GBA, and then just from there it's been, where's the next remake? Where is it? Where is it? And it's felt like it's taken a while for this one, although I felt like Gen 3 conversely also took a while in a way, but that don't matter, because we now finally got the Generation 4 remake that we've all been craving for years and years. Myself, not so much, I guess. I was still excited for sure, but in all honesty, I still do kind of think that Pearl kind of holds up. And in a way, as long as you have saved like all your DSs and all this stuff in a way, Pokemon can still be transferred from here up all the way into the current generation. So it's not like this is sort of an outdated game in a way, but it doesn't matter. Reimaginings is more or less the goal that they try to achieve with the remakes. So today, why don't we just take a look at what the remakes finally brought us with Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is of course a remake of the Generation 4 Diamond and Pearl, taking place in the Sinnoh region. You star as either Dawn or Lucas alongside your childhood friend, the hyperactive Barry. You get to explore the region, aiming to become champion, all the while dealing with the nefarious Team Galactic and their leader, Cyrus. As far as the story is concerned, it ain't really too much different, like at all. Dialogue feels largely unchanged, save for the few instances of updating mechanics and tech from over the ages. The tech this go around sure look and sound nice though. Someone mentioned in a comment something along the lines of, if I didn't like the look of Gen 6, then I'm definitely not going to like this. But on the contrary, I really dig the graphics of the remakes, both in the overworld and in battle. My issue with Gen 6 overworld character models was that it sort of felt like Game Freak wanted to sort of pay homage to the way sprites looked in the older games and translate that to their new hardware and the 3D tech. But the heads always felt abnormal to the bodies and it just felt off. I couldn't believe this was what inspired this. I can believe that this was inspired by this, however. And there's this nice texture to the whole world that sort of gives the game this sort of almost stop animation-esque design to it. You know what I mean? Just look at the water. It's just so majestic. I feel like the design choice also feels reminiscent of the Link Awakening remake for the Switch a few years back. But in that game, the designs there looked too plasticky, where with the remakes, I feel like they found the right balance of cute and chibi while not looking too silly. And even the battle backgrounds look great. There doesn't feel like there's any stock backgrounds. They feel legit unique to their area, and that's probably one of the few times I've ever experienced that. And the music's great. Nice renditions all across the board. Although it does sort of feel like a Xenoblade Definitive Edition issue, as the devs say it's updated music, but I can't really pinpoint right away what makes it better. I guess it'd just be better orchestral tunes to it, I guess, rather than whatever the DS was capable of, but the music's always been great all around, so doesn't matter. Now, coming from a DS game where a touchscreen is involved, Generation 4 did somewhat benefit from very little need to really try and incorporate it into their remake remastering. Looked at something like the Mega Man Zero ZX collection in that the touchscreen was utilized quite a bit in those games, so they had to clumsily put that back into the updated port somehow. Yet there was the Poke Edge, But in all honesty, what features it did offer wasn't super important that I don't think it really needed to be fleshed out in any way. They could have probably just let the thing die or incorporate it into some... Oh, they brought it back completely straight. And in all of its monochrome glory. Oh, I do not like the poke etch in this game. It was great in Gen 4 because you had immediate access to it, but now you got to bring the thing up with the R button, then slowly move the finger cursor over where you want, then close back out and resume and go back and forth into it while not really being able to move your character at all in the whole time. And when the item finder is linked to this thing, oh, that is a lot of busy work just to find a few random ethers I'll probably never end up using. I end up just relying mostly on memory and general observation for random pickups. The only good and new thing about the poke etch isn't even something that's inherently linked to it. HMs make a return, causing numerous roadblocks all throughout the game, and I'm sure causing lots of PTSD for old-time players. But thankfully, they feel more like how they managed back in Generation 7, where you unlock an extra function in the poke etch to call a random Bidoof, Bibarel, or Staraptor to aid you on demand, negating the need to have an HM slave. The HM moves are still around, they just show up in regular TMs that could break again. What? Oh, not since Gen 5 have we had to deal with breaking TMs. Not counting TRs, of course, in Sword and Shield, but even then, that sort of made sense. They were kind of different, but I mean, to be fair, many of the TMs that are given to the player usually come in bulk, and if not, can typically be purchased somewhere. So, although annoying, does somewhat balance the process a bit, I suppose. I prefer if TMs just didn't break at all. What helps is the updated moves list for many of the Pokemons, considering we've had 4 whole generations worth of updated attacks to sift through. Does sort of make parts of the early game a shock. Oh my god! That crazy moment aside, since the EXP share acts the same as the last few generations, giving experience to all party members in every fight, regardless of participation, and since levels haven't really been adjusted accordingly, the game gets surprisingly easy all throughout. Well, except for her, of course. Oh my god! Which makes me think that they judged the EXP growth off of her alone and decided to not fix the difficulty spike from the original, since it sort of balances out by the end, sort of. But any amount of extra EXP gains from fighting wild battles while getting to your next location will still get you slightly over leveled against Cynthia, but The Underground also returns and is by far the thing that got the most revamping. Digging works the same, but you can now dig up these statues with 2 different rarities. Making a secret base, you can place these statues in there. By doing so with enough statues, you get a boost on appearance rates on the Pokemon type that's there the most. Which rates? Well, the Underground now houses these new Pokemon hideaways. Special pockets that home a large variety of Pokemon, even some not normally achieved within that region of Sinnoh. Between this and the wild area from Sword and Shield, it really helps with setting up a team in the early game, and a more diverse one at that. I know there's sort of a meme going around about how people would say they're going to use a new team and then fall back on stuff like Staraptor, Garchomp, Roserade, etc. But I legit used all Pokemon I've never used before thanks to this feature, so that's really nice. While exploring, you could also come across Diglett to collect. If you collect 40, you can get a higher chance on getting better rewards while digging, or a better shiny chance, I believe, giving you another shiny hunting method alongside the Poke Radar. Finally, there's the Ramanas Park, replacing the Pal Park from the OG. Once you beat the game, you can come here and exchange special mystery shards from the Underground for pedestals that you can use to unlock opportunities to catch other older legendaries. It's fine enough, though the rates for the shards feel really low, and honestly, Dynamax adventures from the Crown Tundra, while sort of random, it was a way more enjoyable means of legendary hunting. And yeah, that's basically it for everything that's new-ish. Super Contest returned, but I never even took part in those in the original anyways, so I don't really have much to say on that. Honey trees are back, but since you can't manipulate the clock, it's super tedious to try and get any Pokemon from them. So thankfully a lot of the ones from there got moved to the underground as like super rare spawns, so at least it kind of balance it out. Catch rates are a little stupid. It took me a long time to catch some Pokemon. I don't know why I've had problems with it this time around. I never had issues before, but anyways, yeah, that's all I can really say in terms of it being a remake. So here's the thing. As a remake, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is practically one-to-one in that regard, right down to story beats, dialogue, mechanics, etc. And in that respect, if you've never played a Generation 4 Sinnoh game before, this is a great opportunity for you to give it a try. Game's difficulty is somewhat there, Sinnoh's large and varied to explore, and was one of the first Pokemon games to try and tell a story on a grander scale, with one of the better rivals that actually feels like a rival, and a champion that is probably the best in the series. It's definitely a must-play in that regard. However, stacking it against the previous remakes and the previously established lore from the last few generations, it kind of pales in comparison. Like, Fire Red and Leaf Green had the whole Sevi Islands part after Blaine, and the added post-game arc with them afterwards. Heart Gold and Soul Silver combined the plots of Gold and Silver with Crystal to make one full narrative, introduced the Pokeathlon, one of the few side activities in a Pokemon game I've actually enjoyed. Auras had more geographical updates, a bit of an updated script to make Team Magma and Aqua a bit better, brought about the Eon Flute, and had an extra post-game story in Episode Delta. Even Let's Go had a different take on the Gen 1 storytelling, introduced the new ways to interact with wild Pokemon, and brought Mega Evolutions back to the Generation 1 universe. There's nothing on that level here at all. No merging of plot with Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, nothing incorporating Mega Evolutions or even on the other mechanics from before. How's competitive even going to work with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl? This remake is mostly just smaller quality of life updates, or downgrades to sometimes. The only thing that makes the experience better than the OG is the updated underground, and I feel like some people could take or leave that depending on what kind of Pokemon you want to raise. So yeah, as it stands, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are technically fantastic remakes compared to the original, and if you've never played Generation 4 before, then this is just a fantastic pickup and you should go out and play it. But as it stands right now, it almost has no reason to exist alongside the original games. Because, like I said, it'll take a little bit of effort, but you can still move all the Pokemon up from the Generation 4 games to current hardware. So really, these remakes definitely needed something to just help differentiate themselves from the original game. And unfortunately, this really doesn't have it. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you saw, you can click right up there to check out some of my other videos that I've done, or if you really feel like it, you can click right up there to subscribe. Kind of flipping around than I usually do it, but whatever. Also, if you really feel like it, you can go down to the link below to follow me on Twitter. I post some updates, some stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to be better at it, but Twitter's just a fantastical space of creatures. It's great. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you all later.